This is Inside Badger Football with head coach Trey Shucker. Financial support for Inside Badger Football is provided by Blake Bell of Edward Jones Investments, the accounting firm of Turner, Rogers, Manning, and Plyler, Welch Funeral Home, Austin Wingfield State Farm, Southern Bank Corp., Chad Kesterson Shelter Insurance, Southwest Sporting Goods, Taylor King and Associates, Mary and Martha's Florist and Gifts, Price and Company, Doctors Rob and Gari Rucker, Eccles, Thompson and Kneebone, Clark County Farm Bureau, Dairy Queen, Pediatrics Plus, South Central Connect, Java Primo, Southwest Auto Collection, MDIAN Digital Creations, Andy's Restaurant of Arkadelphia, and Israel Word Law Farmers Insurance. The host of Inside Badger Football is Chase Hartzell.
And welcome back to another episode of Inside Badger Football with Trey Shucker. I'm your host, Chase Hartzell, and as always, we're joined by Arkadelphia head coach, Trey Shucker. Coach Shucker, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So it's always an adventure when you go to the pit for a game against Bauxite on the road, but on Friday night it seemed to be just an especially different experience from possibly anything any of us have ever experienced in high school football.
Absolutely, yeah, that was a very interesting night to start with. You know, the lights were out. You know, it was just we didn't get started on time. We had to start around like 8:20. So it was, and you know, anytime a game is in the pit, you know, it's a tough game, and you saw that early. You know, it was a good back and forth battle at the very start of the game, but ultimately our kids came out on top.
And that outage happened after there was a transformer malfunction and all the lights went out in the stadium, as you mentioned, for a little over 2 hours there with a late kickoff. So with that late kickoff, how did you keep your guys ready to go out on the field at any time? And what was that like whenever those lights went out with all the pregame festivities? Yeah,
you know, so when the lights actually went out, you know, it was still daylight. And so it was kind of one of those questions of when they would be able to get it fixed. And you know, luckily they were able to get it fixed that night, you know, because there was, at one point, there was talk about having to come back the next day on Saturday and play the game. And, you know, if at all possible, we want to play it Friday night. So, but getting the kids to sit down and get focused on the game really wasn't that difficult. I mean, they knew the situation of, you know, if you don't have the lights, you can't play. So they, you know, I just kept talking about how, you know, we are going to play tonight. I don't know when, just sit down and focus on the game, and you know, our kids did a really good job of handling that, and they knew the situation and attacked it, so it was great.
And in that game, got off to a little bit of a crazy start right there. Bauxite starting deep in Badger territory, and they did pick up a score pretty quickly, but Arkadelphia really bouncing back early, and then from there, it just seemed like the offense was clicking and the defense as well. They gave up one more touchdown there in the first half, but you look at the second quarter, and it's a shutout up until halftime. So how did you feel about your team's response, you know, to that, to not only the adversity from the pregame circumstances, but also those early game situations as well?
Yeah, and we talked about all week with the team, you know, playing that Bauxite, you know, there's going to be an obstacle that you're going to have to overcome. And that's every week. It doesn't matter whether you're at home or away, but there's going to be obstacles that you're going to have to overcome. And, you know, it came from the first kickoff. So we knew it would be a battle early just because, you know, it's Bauxite senior night. You know, they're fired up, ready to play. They're going to be playing the best of their ability, obviously. And, you know, they came out and did that. And, you know, our kids responded and just kept true to the game plan. They stayed focused all the way through the game. You know, they handled the environment really well and just was able to go execute and put plays together and put points on the board. And our defense did a great job of wrapping up tackling. You know, Bauxite made a couple plays early. That was good. And then, you know, our defense held strong and stayed true to the game plan and trusted it and really got after it the rest of the game.
Yeah. And we're going to take a look at that game right now. This was, as Rex Nelson put it, the night the lights went out at the pit. And so we start out right there. You can see just how dark it truly was. you see a lot of people standing around. There was a lot of idleness leading up to that, especially on the field. But I know you had a different perspective being there with your players, not on the field at the time.
Yeah, this was something that I've not ever been through, and I don't know if many people have, but it was just one of those things where you just got to stay focused on the game because the game's going to get played eventually. So right here, the opening kickoff, put the ball on the ground and box site recovers it in really good territory for them. We knew that giving them that momentum would be tough early, and we'd have to find a way to get back on track and bounce back from it.
And Boxside did a really good job on this first series, not only utilizing the short field, but also bouncing back from penalties, not only on the first play of the drive, but following the touchdown, they had a penalty on the 2-point conversion as well, and they still bounced back.
Yeah, it's their senior night. They're fired up. They're at their home place. There's going to be plays that they're going to be ready to make, and they did. The first drive was difficult the first couple plays. The defense was flying around, and then, Braylon Bailey was at the running back spot, and once he had the ball, he took off.
So the crowd at the pit silencing down a little bit after that 48-yard touchdown run from Bailey, and now the Badgers trailing by just 1 point. And we're still just about a minute and a half into the contest at this point.
Yeah, there was 2 scores really back-to-back, and, not much time has gone off the clock at this point. 14 was a really good player for them, played wide receiver. He was a tough kid all night.
So Bauxite had a little bit of momentum going on this drive, but Arkadelphia doing a really good job here of standing firm near midfield. With this sack by Landon Kewen, they did determine that the ball carrier was down on that play. But again, Arkadelphia not giving an inch.
Yes, we wanted to contain the running back and then, force them to pass. We felt like we could get pressure on the quarterback if they were in a passing situation, and we did. You see right here, Braylon Bailey coming off the edge did a great job at getting to the quarterback and getting a sack. Our defense was flying around all night, playing great football. And Braylon Bailey again, the big touchdown here. That was another quick drive for us offensively. Just Braylon was so explosive Friday. Get him the ball and he was going. So when you've got a player that's kind of got the hot hand, you got to get the ball to him.
Exactly, and it seemed like he did a lot to help shift the momentum in this game. Of course, it's a team effort, but coming up with those 2 early scores as well as the sack that led to the turnover on downs.
Yes, he did a great job because it could have been really easy with them getting the momentum early on a senior night at their place. It could have been real easy for them to sustain that momentum for longer in the game if we had not made those plays, if Braylon had not made those plays really quick. And, that's something that we had talked about with the team earlier in the week was we knew the environment was going to be big. We knew it was a big night for Bauxite, and they were going to be ready to play and play tough, and they did early. And our kids responded well to it, and our kids are tough too. We feel like we can play with anybody out there. You see right here, big 3rd and short, 3rd and 1 yard. We went with the quarterback sneak. Donovan Witten, the line up front, getting a good push to get the first down. Talk about Braylon Bailey having the hot hand. Every time he had the ball, it was electric.
It seemed like he did a great job of extending plays with his footwork as well, and not just on that play, but we'll see other cases as well later in the game.
He definitely did, and then Jay Sean ran the ball extremely well also, and our offensive line did a great job at handling the box. Bauxite's defense, they moved around a lot in the box. Their defensive linemen would be standing up and moving around, and linebackers would be kind of moving back and forth. So it's really difficult to kind of get an estimate on where they're going to be, and hard to key on where your block is supposed to take place. And we'd worked that all week. Our O-line did a great job at picking up their assignments. There's the defense getting pressure on the quarterback again, causing a disruption in the pass, and then forcing a punt. And just getting the ball back to us is a big thing. We had not been stopped offensively at this point, and just getting the ball back to us, getting a good 3 and out was big for our offense. And there you see Ja'Shawn Davis getting big yards on big plays. O-line did a great job all Friday night. This was a big punt by Donovan Witten. We weren't able to get a first down on the drive, so we had a couple penalties that kind of stalled us out. But getting that big punt and flipping the field position was big. And when you're in that position, you've got to be able to respond. Right here, 14 had a big night for them. He's a good player, and they got him the ball in that situation. It was a big play for him. Really good job by our defense right here, recognizing the swinging gate formation. They snapped it, trying to get a 2-point conversion, trying to get something sneaky. Our defense recognized it and was able to keep them out.
And so at this point, it is 21-14. Arkadelphia still in the driver's seat and moving along quite well here on the next drive.
Yeah. And this was, this was a situation where we felt good about Spencer Allen going in and kicking the field goal. Wasn't able to get it through. He just didn't get all of his leg into it. He's definitely. That is definitely his range.
And it was also a very windy night in Boxside that night as well, so the elements not really working to his advantage on that play.
That's right. We had a lot of big plays offensively. This was one of them. I think this was a one-play drive. First play out, Ja'Shawn Davis and the offensive line, really executing the run play, and Ja'Shawn with a big finish to the end zone. Just a big run for us. Those big runs, those big plays, those are those momentum plays. That's the plays that really swing the momentum, and it's really hard to get that momentum back if you're Boxside or any opponent. Those big plays are huge when it comes to momentum and confidence for the rest of the team. It's a lot easier for the defense to go out there and play defense with right after a big play like that. So just a big team night for us.
And going back to that Ja'Shawn Davis run, we've talked about it all season. It usually just takes him one good run to get him going. Mm-hmm. He'd already had some good momentum built up leading up to that point, but if there was any doubt that he was going to have a huge night,
yeah, no doubt. Just like you said, if he gets one big run on the night, look out. It's probably going to be a smooth night for him. He's going to be running tough. You saw, just a tough throw. Quarterback threw across his body and missed high, but our defense did a great job to get us the ball back. Braylon Bailey with the ball being electric, and then the big strong run by Ja'Shawn Davis again. He had 4 touchdowns on the night. Just a big night for him. This night put him over 1,000 yards rushing, 19 touchdowns rushing. That's not only great by him. He's obviously a specimen. He does a great job at running hard and finishing his runs and getting to the end zone. But our O-line was a big accomplishment by them also, getting that 1,000-yard rush for the season before the end of the conference play.
And we see another stop by Arkadelphia's defense here. And it seemed almost like a chess match. If Boxside had a defensive stand, which in the second quarter were hard to come by for the Miners, it seemed like Arkadelphia always had an answer. Yes,
and that's goes back to just execution. Playing to the level that we hope and expect to play. Playing fast at receiver, being able to maintain up front, and we were really disciplined up front with how we handled the box and our pass pro and our run game, and just being able to execute the plays that's called and play fast. Right here, big catch by Carter Babb. He takes a quick pass and a short pass into a big gain. And once Donovan Witten gets out of the pocket and gets downhill to run, he's a tough guy to bring down.
And we did miss Jay-Sean Davis's touchdown run that capped off that drive, but that was his 4th touchdown of the night, as you mentioned earlier. Huge night for the senior running back. And now Arkadelphia up by 4 scores. It's 42-14, and we are still in the second quarter.
Yeah, that first half, it felt like it took forever, just because some of the scores happened so fast, and our defense was playing really well and going to 3 and outs, getting the offense to 3 and out, and it just kind of happened really quick. But didn't take a lot of points off the board. Take a lot of seconds off the board. That it just lasted a long time. That first half did.
We talked about Braylon Bailey extending plays with his footwork. This is a prime example right here. Huge play to pick up the first down.
Yeah, he's so tough to really get a target on if you're trying to tackle him. And then you see a big catch right there on 3rd down by Jay-Sean Davis. He's a big, strong runner. We talk a lot about that, but he's also really, really good in the passing game and receiving the ball. He's got some of the best hands on the football team. Probably one of the best throws of the night by Donovan right here was, find Alex Loy, getting behind the defense on a post route. Alex has done a great job at running that route all year, and Donovan's done a great job at finding him and getting to the ball and throwing a catchable ball, and it's probably one of the best throws all night.
And something we haven't mentioned yet either is that Donovan was facing a unique blitz pattern that you usually don't see from teams. A lot of teams go out of that 3-point stance, but in this case, the Miners were standing up, sometimes even behind the line of scrimmage a lot of the time.
Yes, we handled it really well, and then you see defense right there was a big play by Kobe Buckley. That's multiple weeks where he's had a big interception in a big situation, and got us the ball back with a few seconds left in the first half. We tried to throw something deep towards the end zone, but as time's running out, and then you see another one. It's Nick Williams on that last play. Is a big play by him. He's a sophomore that's had a great season for us. He fills in at that safety spot, and he's progressed so much over the course of the season. He's playing with confidence. I think that's his 2nd interception of the season. He's improved so much as a tackler, and Nick's really coming along.
And in that game, you look at it in the second half with the good sportsman rule intact, a lot of young guys getting some experience as well, and you saw a lot of sophomores like Nick Williams stepping up for Arkadelphia. How important is it to get those guys opportunities like those, especially in conference games, to get them prepared for the future?
It's huge. Getting those guys Friday night experience, there's nothing really you can substitute for that. You can schedule JV games and you can get those guys reps in practice, but there's nothing like getting in on a Friday night just because of the feel, the atmosphere, just the whole game day leading up to the game is built. It builds up just like they're the starter, and that's what we tell our kids: is if you're on the field, you're the starter, and we want whoever it is that's in the game to treat it that way, and we feel like that's how they progress and our team can reach its full potential. And we've been in a situation multiple times this season where we've been able to get the second teams in the second half and get a lot of good experience. And anytime we're able to do that, we would love to do that to get those guys on the field. Rest our starters and keep our starters healthy. But also, it's more about getting those second team guys in and getting those guys experience for the future.
And speaking of younger guys, got to see some future Badgers clinch a conference championship in the junior high division this week. How was that?
Yes, that was huge. Our junior highs have played so well this season. Our 8th and 9th grade won a conference championship, and that was just huge for our program. There's a lot of really good players in that group. We hope that 9th grade group stays together and finishes, everybody that's on that team right now finishes the rest of their football career here at Arkadelphia, and a football player. We hope that everybody stays out. It's just big for our program in general. That's a really good group coming up.
And it seems like there's a lot of momentum all around the program in all different divisions. You look at the junior high team winning the conference championship this week, and then the Badgers varsity team winning 4 straight. Do you try to use that momentum, especially on the varsity squad here, as we go into the later portion of the season to keep fighting?
Yes, absolutely. When you start stacking up some wins and you get some big wins along the way, you know, that kind of stuff really builds momentum, and this is the time of year that you'd really like to have that momentum going up into the last conference game this week and into the playoffs. This right now is the time of the year where we hope to play our best football. You know, that's something that we talked about this past week. We want to play our best football this week, and then next week, you know, we'd like to do the same thing. We want to play our best football from week to week.
And the final score in that game at the pit was Arkadelphia 49, Bauxite 22. And as we mentioned, 4 wins in a row. Huge win on the road in conference play for the Badgers. And with that, we're going to take a look at some of the players who helped make that win possible. These were our Badger Players of the Week.
Offensive Player of the Week was Braylon Bailey. Had 2 carries with a touchdown. Also had 2 receptions. For almost 100 yards and a touchdown. You know, really did a great job at sparking our team early when we really needed it. Just such an explosive player. Our Defensive Player of the Week is Marvion Berry. Plays outside linebacker for us, had 7 tackles, also had a pass breakup, and you know, just flew around, did a great job. He's had multiple weeks this year where he's had you know, high tackle count, but was a big factor Friday night and was very disruptive. Our Special Teams Player of the Week was Brock Curry. Brock Curry did a great job on our kickoff team. You know, he's very skilled, athletic, and he was able to get down the field and make a couple tackles on our kickoff unit, and he did a great job. You know, Brock's one of those kids where he's only been on that unit for the past few weeks and done a really good job progressing, and had his best game on special teams this past week. And then our Badger Spirit Award winner is Katelyn Hunting. She's our only water girl at the moment. She's done a great job all season. She was with us since spring ball, and through the summer she was there, and she's mainly the only one that mans the water with everything. She does a great job at making sure everything's filled up. She's one of our biggest supporters. Anything that needs to be done, she's jumping on it. And you know, on game days, there's all kinds of things going on. She does a great job at helping out with just the game day cycle of everything.
Well, congratulations to all of this week's winners. A huge week all around for Arkadelphia football. And with that, we're going to take a look at some of the scores from around the rest of the conference. So here we go. First off, you see the score we just broke down. Arkadelphia with the win over Bauxite 49-22. Moving down the line, Malvern with a huge win over Nashville at home last week, 40-19 the final score.
Yeah, you know, we talk about playing your best football at the end of the season. You know, I think Malvern's doing that. You know, Malvern past few weeks has really come on and put together some really good games and put up some points, and they're really holding opponents to low numbers. So we believe that Malvern is playing their best football right now and should be a great matchup this week.
And we'll break down that game here in just a few moments. But before that, looking down the line as well, Robinson holding on against Ashdown 21-8, the final score in that one, but the Panthers playing some excellent defense against one of the top offenses in the conference and an undefeated team, no less.
Yes, you know, Robinson, they're just very explosive. You know, they're big, fast, physical. You know, and Ashdown, you know, they're very athletic too. You know, we played Ashdown last week, and it was a hard-fought game, so we knew that this would be also. And Ashdown trying to bounce back, just wasn't able to get it done, and Robinson's just a very explosive team.
And that really says a testament to how well the Badgers played on that run of 28 straight points. That's not very common against Ashdown, and it was proof right here in the Robinson game.
Yeah, you know, getting those points really early and really quick, you know, really set us up for the rest of the game. Very fortunate in that.
And then our final score in conference play, Fountain Lake. We've talked about that Fighting Cobra spirit all year long. Don't necessarily have the numbers of some of the other teams in the conference, but they pull out another big win against Harmony Grove, final score 28-21.
Yeah, you know, that's both teams right there, very run heavy. Both of them very physical, and I bet that was a very hard-fought game all overall. You know, I bet there was some really big tackles on defense, and you know, defense was the key, keeping the other team to a low number.
And before we get any further into the Malvern game, we're going to take a look at the conference standings. First off, you see Robinson there hanging on, getting the victory, and remaining undefeated in conference play heading into the last week of the regular season. Followed that up with Arkadelphia, and that Bauxite win was crucial because with Ashdown's loss, Arkadelphia now the sole possessor of second place in the 7-4A.
Yes, you know, and that really puts the big emphasis on this week. You know, Malvern, it's a rivalry, obviously, but it also determines that second and third seed going into the playoffs and really getting a home field playoff game for that first round.
And you can see it right there, just one game between second and the tie for third place. So definitely could have some major postseason implications, and will have some major postseason implications on Friday night. Plus you look at Fountain Lake. They're having a good season thus far, despite all the hardships that they face. They're 3-3 and right there in the 5 seed. And then Nashville, Harmony Grove, 1-5 on the year. They're tied for 6th place. And then Bauxite still looking for that first conference win in 8th.
Yeah, it just goes to show you how tough the league really is. Any Friday night, a lot of those bottom teams of the conference, you really look at their season, their conference scores, they're really putting up some really tough games. I mean, there's not any games where you go out there and it's just an easy night. It doesn't happen that way in our conference.
It's definitely strong from top to bottom this year, and a lot of rising programs as well. We've seen some programs that have had some ups and downs in the past. They've had some huge wins this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there really has, and it's a tough conference, and our the teams in our conference represent us really well, and with how they who they play in the non-conference games and things like that. But it's any Friday night, anything can happen, and that's why there's so much emphasis on preparation through the week, every single week, and it does a great job preparing you for the playoffs. That's why you see teams in our conference so successful in the playoffs, is because of the power struggle that it is throughout the actual football season.
And with that, we're going to move on to the Malvern game, and this one's significant. You look at not only just the history of these two teams. These two teams have been playing each other for a long time, perennial contenders for a playoff spot in whatever conference they've been in. And then you look on top of that, the postseason implications that we've already talked about in this matchup. But on top of all that, it's also senior night at All Care Field.
Yeah.
So what does this game mean to some of those guys who are going to be playing their last regular season game at Badger Stadium?
Yeah, so it'd be really easy to build it up, and it is built up, but there are so many just things going on about the game. It's senior night. It's our last home game of the regular season. It's a rivalry for a belt. It also determines probably the 2 and 3 seed, and then it also determines a home playoff game. So there's a lot of variables that go into it, and it's just a big game. Without all that stuff going on, it already is a big game, being a rivalry game, and that it will be senior night. But just everything else kind of adds to it, and it's just a big built-up week. It should be a really, really good game Friday night.
And looking at the Leopards from this season compared to years past, what can we expect from this matchup?
Well, they're going to be a physical football team. They're playing their best football right now. They've dealt with some injuries throughout the season, but they've handled it really well. You see early in the season is when they kind of had those injuries. They had some players that were injured and weren't able to come back this season, but they've handled it really well. They've been able to adjust kind of what they do and have gotten really good at it, and they're effective. So it'll be a tough, hard-fought game Friday. They're athletic, they're big and fast, so it should be a really good battle.
Well, Coach, I think you said it best. A big game atmosphere on Friday night at All Care Field at Badger Stadium. Kickoff set for 7 p.m. in that senior night game. Go out and support the Badgers if you can, and if you can't, you can catch it right here on ArkadelphiaBadgerTV.com. Well, Coach, I think that's going to wrap up this week's episode. Thanks for joining us as always.
Thank you for having me. Go Badgers.
Go Badgers.
Financial support for Inside Badger Football is provided by Blake Bell of Edward Jones Investments, the accounting firm of Turner, Rogers, Manning, and Plyler, Welch Funeral Home, Austin Wingfield State Farm, Southern Bank Corp, Chad Kesterson Shelter Insurance, Southwest Sporting Goods, Taylor King and Associates, Mary and Martha's Florist and Gifts, Price and Company, Doctors Rob and Gary Rucker, Eccles, Thompson, and Kneebone, Clark County Farm Bureau, Dairy Queen, Pediatrics Plus, South Central Connect, Java Primo, Southwest Auto Collection, MDIAN Digital Creations, Andy's Restaurant of Arkadelphia, and Israel Word Law Farmers Insurance. Inside Badger Football is produced weekly by Ouachita Baptist University's Rogers Department of Communications and the Ouachita Sports Digital Network.